All right. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Video Ditch. We are back. We are back in action, raring to go. Jake and I here, joined by Tim and Quinn from Faire Noir Games, here to talk about their upcoming new game, Where They Go, an exciting horror title currently available on the Epic Store if you want to try the demo out. How's everyone doing today?
Good,
We're doing
good, good,
great.
good.
Right on.
Nice.
Having a lovely rain where I'm at right now.
Very nice.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
it's raining over there.
Yeah, a little bit. It's actually, I don't know, it's kind of nice. I don't mind it right now.
Yeah, it just got done raining where we were at. It's a pretty big storm come through. Nothing too dramatic.
Let's start off with Where They Go. What was kind of the genesis of the game? Where did it come from? Any particular piece of media, inspiration, idea that turned to what it is today?
We kind of took a lot of inspiration from a lot of different things. So what we both knew we liked when we first started this was we both liked horror. And we liked different kinds, and we spent a long time, and actually Joel just reminded me about this, but we spent several, maybe even a year, it might have been close to a year, just like talking about different things that scared us and different types of horror and what made something scary. So we talked about this for probably about a year just to try to figure out exactly what we wanted. And that's kind of I think that's probably the best way to explain what the beginning of it was, but after that we started taking inspiration from a lot of other things. Joel, would you add anything to that?
I mean, yes, 100% on that. When that, I'd say it's about a year, we really tried to figure out not only what we thought was scary, but we tried to figure out why it was scary, try to distill that a little bit so that it become an applicable tool that we could use for crafting. And a lot of it came down to really just getting just enough information where you are alerted, but not enough information where you know what action to take in the immediate time that builds anxiety. And so we try to do a lot of that. We give you a little bit of information. We let you know you're in danger, but we don't give you enough at the moment to tell you what you should be doing so that that tension can build up. And then at that point, when we think it's high enough, then and to kind of quote Quentin Tarantino, we snap the string at
Okay.
that point to kind of, release that tension. And then in most cases, that'd be like a jump scare, but our jump scares are more like if you just got a jump scare, you actually are in danger. So you need to be moving. So it's not
Got
like
it.
oh, I got spooked and I'm fine.
It's more the
No,
suspense of it as
yeah,
it builds.
yeah,
It's kind of like Amnesia
yeah,
if I were to call on a maybe other title that reminds me of that.
yeah. And we did start looking at a lot of different kinds of games and movies to figure out, well, again, why they were doing certain things and how it was effective. And Amnesia was a game we looked at. And there was several others. And it was like weird things. Like sometimes we look at like environment design, how they did their environment design, how they did their sound design, how they did their creature design or their gameplay mechanics, what all those different things did to kind of work towards the same goal of building that tension and environment building and
Right.
so on and so forth.
I think that's the most important thing for horror is kind of making sure that players never feels really safe, which I think I'm glad to hear that you guys are mostly focusing on. I think that sense of panic, that feeling of I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I feel like I'm going to die in real life is what every really great horror game needs. So I'm glad to hear that's what you guys are going for this one.
Growing up, he really introduced me, and not into horror in general, but like horror that I was always
Was
on
good.
console, and I mean, I'd played
That's
like
subjective.
that's
It's
very
so
subjective.
hard.
I had always played like Dead Space, BioShock, all those were horrors was shooting, right? But I had never played a horror game where I was just defenseless. And the first time playing Amnesia was one of the first ones that I played with Nick, and then there was other Half-Life mods and stuff that were based on horror that were there's really there's no tension when you're like as scary as it is when you're defenseless. So
Yeah. As soon as you get
um
the gun, all the fear kind of
Yeah.
dissipates. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally,
and we
totally.
we actually talked about that. That we brought that up. That was one of our things where like we're like we came to the conclusion pretty early on. We're like, we're not doing guns. We're not going to do
Okay.
anything that that's going to make you feel like you're safe. So
No lead pipes.
Whenever you also as a study, whenever you allow the player to fight back in any capacity, it becomes sort of a power fantasy, especially when you have escalation. So if you give them a gun or you give them upgrade options or a better gun or better weapons and so on and so forth, it becomes the scares become less and less powerful the further in you go. So because they have that power fantasy, power creep. And we kind of wanted to focus more on, since our game is technically a puzzle game, like an environmental puzzle, horror survival game, I guess you could say. We wanted the player to feel like they were leveling up with knowledge. So that is the power scale you would have. So by the end of the game, you will have mastered we have a fairly robust movement system for a horror game. You'll be able to, master the movement system and you'll understand all the mechanics. And then by then, hopefully your awareness of all the mechanics and the puzzles and knowledge will help you to be able to do a lot more cool things in the environment and use that to your advantage. But you're never going to be strong enough. So if you have a close encounter, you're just going to want to lean into those systems and not engage as much as possible. So
That's awesome. Yeah, your environment is really nice. Like I just from the images and the videos, the environment is super cool. Like how you guys it's got a nice atmosphere where it's not so grim that it's bland. Like it has some flavor to it, which I really like because I feel like there's just so many horror games that go for liminal space where it's also just kind of bland. Like you guys have some nice color in there. It's nice. It's interesting. It's
yeah.
gripping.
So I'm a designer by trade.
Okay.
And so like I leaned a little heavily into color theory on that. So
I love it.
we have some yellows and we have some greens and reds and the nice I knew I kind of want to do some yellows and greens because it makes the space feel sickly. Uh,
Yes.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
to kind of like contrast that or complement that, you add in the red, and that also has a nice bold popping color and so on and so forth. But then also, we try to also work with the shapes of the spaces quite a bit. So, like even in just the demo, you start off in this kind of claustrophobic little bedroom, and you go into like a kind of claustrophobic like hallway. It's fairly small, and you only have like three rooms you can look in, and then you have to solve a puzzle. And then when the puzzle is solved, you come into these very tall, kind of expansive hallways, and that makes you. It's almost like and you're going to be kind of going in and out of these spaces. So what we're trying to do is create sort of a vibration effect for the player because some people have megalophobia where they're scared of large structures or large spaces and so on and so forth. And some people have claustrophobia. So there's the tight spaces that give them. So we're making them fluctuate between them.
That's really cool. I'd never even thought to take in consideration of like different phobias like that, and like and even just designing the space.
Yes, exactly. And you shouldn't think about it. It should just frighten you.
It should just make you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's all that stuff is just trying to make sure.
yeah,
exactly. Like that's
For sure.
that's exactly what you should feel when you're playing the game. It's best when you're not like, oh yes, this reminds me of the Gothic
Oh no,
architecture that's so common. You should just be like, I feel like I'm in some real danger here. So
yeah,
I'm glad that
Yeah.
it comes through even to an uneducated fella like myself.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also should feel alien. So you should feel like you're in somewhere you've never been before.
yeah, like an infected dimension is what it feels like to me.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of thought back to when I was a kid and whenever my parents like take us to these like really big museums or really big like, architectural structures. And I would just look up and I'd feel how tiny it was in that space. I just get this weird feeling up my back. And I was like, I kind of wanted to recreate that in that sense.
Yeah, that existential dread.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So leading up to this, I suppose outside the game itself, what are the games and experiences that have made both of you into the developers that you are now? Like, are there any formative games or even films that you would say really stood out and influenced you to this day?
Yeah, what made y'all gamers?
Definitely milestones that I'll kind of go through. So probably like Doom and Quake, Half-Life, BioShock, Outlast, You can tell I have a very specific type of game that
No,
I
for sure. I
like.
love it, dude.
But
You're right up my alley. I love it.
yeah, I definitely like games that have some sort of scare in them. Amnesia also was one of them. Every single one of those kind of reimagined a scary way of retelling a story or something. Like Half-Life. Half-Life blew my mind when that came out because it had such robust storytelling in it.
Yeah, all environmental.
I know there were other games that told stories, but they didn't have as much scary stuff in them, so I wasn't really as interested in those. But then yeah, when I played Half-Life, that blew my mind. And then Outlast scared me so much, and because you weren't able to do anything, you weren't able to fight back or anything. All you could do is just hide, and there was those those creatures chasing you. Oh man, that messed me up. There's a lot of good games that I played as that eventually I kind of added that into how I design stuff. And you know what I always did with games too is I always thought about how they were programmed and stuff and programmed as a hobby also, but I always kind of tried to figure out like, oh, how did they do this new feature that I've never seen before? So I always thought about that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, taking the favorite toy apart, seeing how it works, that kind of thing. Yeah,
Exactly like that, yeah.
perfect pipeline to becoming a developer. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
I'd
sure.
always I'd always see those things and be like, wow, that's amazing. I guess it's magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me it was magic, and it still is to this day. What you guys do is
I
legitimately
definitely do
magic.
that with a lot of things.
Curtains still fully over the eyes, willfully, let's say.
How long have you been developing?
I started programming maybe about 10 years ago and making like smaller games, and I never worked with an engine until probably well, really, I didn't start working with an engine until I started,
Pre-built engine. Yeah.
yeah, until I started working with Joel.
Okay.
I just kind of like, yeah, I just kind of wrote like smaller games and stuff like that. I didn't do any like the 3D stuff or anything like that. It was all like 2D kind of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, everyone starts
But I
somewhere.
had yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then I had an idea of how the game worked in general. So it's still way, way bigger when you have the engine and everything. There's a whole lot more that you can do, but
Yeah, it kind of speeds up in some instances.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean,
I know the way
Yeah.
that people describe it, I always like in my mind, it's like, oh, an engine. It's kind of like Legos or something. You just kind of put it together and it makes sense. But what you're saying sounds a lot more like reality.
Yeah, so the engine has a lot of cool stuff that you can do that is just kind of automatic. Like it has pre-built code that you can use, and if you're like building it, from scratch, then you have to write every single little tiny
Right.
detail. So unless you're going to spend the rest of your entire life doing it, then you got to make the smaller games and stuff.
and I think there's something to be said about why, I mean, so many studios now and indie games and everything is going to just using engines like Unreal or, I mean, any of the pre-existing engines instead of building their own. Because, I mean, we've seen, for one, the amount of cost it takes to, especially for like bigger games, it's just
Yeah.
balloons. It's crazy.
I think it depends. Like, so even after working within Unreal Engine, and we actually when we first started tinkering around with ideas, we started in Unity, and you start seeing limitations of the different platforms. I think if you are either, if you're a developer who like knows exactly what they want, or at least knows kind of the direction they want to go, and you know how to code an engine, I mean, you could do that and it works. Like I think of Billy Basso with Animalwell right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he coded his own
Incredible.
engine, and the way he did it, though, it was very purpose built. So there's no fat. With like bigger studios where they have a larger portfolio of IPs they're going to be developing, getting all their developers in on one tool that is not, meant for one specific project, but also like it can be flexible amongst a bunch of different things, I think is very valuable to them. Because how many times have we seen a studio that's built their own engine and then they go to build a totally different game and it's broken as hell because it's not built for that kind of game. So I think that's a lot of the consideration. So it's never like really like one is always the answer. It's, consider your project kind of thing. But for us, yeah, it sped up our workflow and it worked a lot better in that sense.
I've only heard like incredible things about working with. Is it's Unreal 5 you guys are using? I've only heard good things about Unreal 5 and everything that comes out of it is always I
It's
see.
yeah, it's great. It has a lot of different tools and stuff that yeah, we never even would have thought of.
Yeah.
So
Like we got to play with Lumen and Nanite and those systems and stuff like that.
Yes, Joel as well. What are your formative gaming experiences? What's made you into
Oh,
the gamer you are today?
yeah. So I started playing on games back in like the DOS days. So when you had to use like command prompts to load your games, which was interesting. But then also, I think the most formative one I think was when Myst came out and CD-ROMs came out, and Myst was first released. My dad bought a brand new PC so he could get a CD-ROM, and the first thing he got was Myst because he wanted to test out his system. And this guy's like, "This is the best game ever," so he bought it. And my dad and I just would sit down at the computer with a big old notepad, and we just play through Myst, taking notes and stuff like that. And I remember, like, one, loving the puzzles, but then also really taking notice of the environmental design. Like, there was certain parts of that game, which isn't even a horror game, but it felt scary because of I don't know if you've ever played Myst, but there's these two brothers in it, and they're both kind of sinister in their own little ways. And you'll find these little spaces that they kind of lived in that are very creepy. And I always thought it was interesting how that game made me feel like that. And like Tim, I played like Doom and Quake, and Quake was interesting because I always remember very specific parts of it really well, especially the beginning of it. Everyone remembers the beginning of Quake because you hear that dragging sound and it's so freaking scary. You don't know where it is. And you make a turn down this hallway, and all of a sudden, this secret door opens up, and this dude with a chainsaw comes chasing at you. I
yeah.
always thought that was a great moment. I love that moment. And but then, like after that, I was like, I still played some horror games. Like I love Little Nightmares. I love that one because there's absolutely no dialogue. I thought that was really bold. I mean, it's not like other platformers haven't done it, but to have such a rich world and not have any dialogue spoken, and kind of just leaving that story up for the player to kind of digest and decipher on their own was really cool. And then I was like super into like movement, like games that have like high levels of movement so you don't feel like you're trapped within your player controller. So yeah, I like the Call of Duties for their movement. Although I have to take myself off that every once in a while. But also like Warframe. I feel like Warframe has like the most robust movement I've ever seen in a game, with how much you can do. I like those little technical bits right there. And the things that like make me think about why they do this. And I'll come back to it. Like I think about Limbo, what Limbo's art did with different things like that as well. I am the nerd who notices the small things in the scene that no one else is going to look at. So any artists that are listening to this and they go, I'm going to put this in and no one's ever going to see it, I'm going to see it. So
He
I'm
will.
that guy.
He will.
Yeah. The small details, those are the things that stick out as well, you know. I feel like that's kind of a thing that's gone away recently. Anything off the beaten path, any of the little environmental storytelling
AAA for
details.
sure.
Yes. And it's always something I've missed. Just those little things that add so much more to the game world, make it feel really lived in, you know?
Did you play Animal Well, Nick?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, I would argue that one of the games that I've played recently that made me feel like there's just so much little detail in the environment in that. Joel, have you played it? I know you brought it up, but I didn't know if you had ended up playing it
I have it in
actually.
my library. I have not carved my time because I've heard that I've watched a lot of stuff about Billy Basso and his development of it, so I'm very familiar with it. But I've intentionally strayed away from any of the puzzles because I want to have that experience. I just say carve my time first.
For sure. Yeah,
Um,
it definitely is
I
a
hear it
time
takes
sink.
a big chunk. So
Yeah, it's like 10 hours to beat approximately, I'd say. And then the amount of game afterwards is easily doubles that. Like there's probably 40, 50 hours of gameplay in that game, which is really incredible for just like a small one person
yeah,
developer. I mean, that's
and there's some puzzles you can't solve by yourself. You have to engage with the
right.
community, and
Community. It's
yeah.
crazy. It's a
Which
good,
I love that idea. I want to
yeah,
incorporate something like that into where they go at some point. I would like to
sure.
do that. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. It's really neat.
So for both of you, was game develop always kind of the goal? Was that we always were aiming for ever since playing these big influential games, ever since that creepy atmosphere in Myst or getting stalked by the psychos and BioShock?
Nope.
I could say I always kind of had an interest in it, but I didn't ever think I was gonna ever be on a project like this big, because this is really really cool project. I thought I would make, small games every now and then. What didn't have any intention of releasing any of them or anything like that. I guess I always hoped I might be on a project like this.
I have a hard time believing it's just two of you guys. Like it's crazy. That's
Yeah, we
It's
put a
it's long hours.
yeah, it is.
extremely refined. I mean, just based off of at least the game, I haven't gotten to try the gameplay demos, but just based off of your trailers, and I've gone through your website, and I mean, I'm going to absolutely play. After I saw it, I was like, oh man, I can't wait till I have some. I'm curious, just in terms of your roles, which do you guys both share in everything, or is one of you more like I know you, Joel, you said you did color and a lot of design aspects.
Yeah. So we there's overlap, but Tim is more into the coding side, and he's also very focused on like game mechanics and so a lot of the baselines for our puzzles, and then we kind of overlap on those things. He also helps with a lot with like he's doing a lot of the music score moving forward, and then I'll take it and master it and stuff like that. So there's lots of those situations, and then I'm more on the artist side, so I'm doing all the modeling and animations, and well, majority of animations. Again, there's overlap there. Tim helps with some of the procedural things or other items that we need to have animated within Engine that can't be keyframed.
I haven't done any of the art. I did make a cup, and
Oh yeah, this is so great.
so
So side tangent. This is so
yeah.
funny. um, this is gonna. We're thinking about making this an Easter egg in the game. So when we first started, Tim was like getting all excited 'cause we're going into 3D. I was already a 3D artist, so I was like, let's do 3D. So we'll just go with that. And I started going ahead and building all these assets. And Tim's like, I want to learn how to do 3D modeling. I'm like, cool. Here, we use Blender. And I was like, here, I showed him how to get Blender. I gave him a quick introduction on it. And he's like, awesome. How should I start? I'm like, pick a project and do it. You'll learn so much just from doing a project. And he's like, awesome. I'm going to model a cup. I'm like, cool. So then he models this cup and he sends it over and he puts it in the game and he looks at it, it's like, it's a beautiful cup. It is actually perfect. It's a perfect cup. And it's like clean white cup. And I was like, you can't use this, Tim. He's like, why? I'm like, it's perfect. Everything is destroyed in the world. It has to be cracked or broken in some way. And so I replaced his cup with a broken and destroyed cup, and he was so mad about it. So
Oh, that's
whenever he
hilarious.
puts something in the game, and I'm like, Tim, it looks really great, but we can't use it. It's got to be this. It's got to work within the world setting. He's like, it's just like my damn cup.
That's funny. Yeah, you
So
have to do an Easter egg.
We're gonna hide this cup in the game somewhere
Yeah,
as an Easter egg, so you'll have to.
yeah.
Little Steam
It's
achievement
awesome.
pops up in the corner.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's a
yeah.
great
Baby's
idea.
That's what I was
first
thinking
cup.
is that you
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find the developer's
Yeah.
cup.
So we did, yeah, we actually talked about that this week because I did say something about the cup. I brought up the cup again this week, and so he's like, we really should put this back in the game, and I was like, darn right, we should. He's like, we could like frame it, and I was like, oh, now you're talking.
That's
We'll
awesome.
frame it and hide it somewhere. It'll be a wonderful little Easter egg achievement. So
Combine that with the community interaction, secret ending, the cup ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's gonna be like the dog ending of Silent Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
You
go.
were
It was you
behind
all
it
along.
the whole time. Right, speaking of Silent Hill, were there any horror games in particular that really formed an inspiration for where they go? Because I know I saw the camera obscura and the photo taking mechanic. They give me a strong feeling of like well, Fatal Frame just in the name alone, but more so from like Cry of Fear or what was that Half-Life mod? Is it not Fear of Monsters? It was something else. Something another not so much camera the whole time, but it was like taking the camera, take the picture and things generating, the world changing with each picture taken.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's an indie game. Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of the name right now, but yeah, no, it's a really
I
cool
mean,
game. But no,
yeah,
we actually we looked at that game and we were like, we need to not do that,
yeah.
because we didn't want to be like a copycat kind of situation as much as possible. We wanted it to feel as unique. Tim was really adamant with the camera. Like it was more yeah. Tim, take that. It was more. You're the originator on that idea.
We kind of like tossed around ideas for a little bit, but I kind of was. So it started off, I was like, I want to do something with a camera, and I was thinking, I think I might have just originally thought about flashes, maybe. No, codes. I was thinking maybe you could take pictures of codes and then keep pictures in the stash, so you had this stash of codes or something like that. And then, so my son actually does all the t a lot of the testing, and I'll what I'll do is I'll give him these ideas I have, and I'll have him play it, and then I'll be like, all right, walk around and do stuff. So he played it, and the first thing he did was took a picture of a picture, and I was like, okay, there's something there. And so I don't want to give any spoilers any further on it, but that's kind of the concept is taking a picture of a picture, and then from there we kind of just tested until stuff started to come together, and then so Joel actually came up with the idea of man, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't
Yeah,
played
it's
it
okay.
yet.
It's okay. You don't have to.
It's there's a tie-in that you'll use the pictures that you take solve puzzles, but it's a nice little experience when you first get in. We the lock light, which is your flashlight, which we've been pretty open about what it does. It's a flashlight that doubles as a key. So the concept with that is like when we first started, Tim was like, "No keys. I don't want keys in this game whatsoever. Keys
Okay.
are lame." And so
I
we were
like it.
like, okay, but we need to restrict the player's movement in some meaningful way. And we also wanted to give them something that they had to make meaningful decisions with. So we decided within the world, there's like an inventor, and whenever he makes something, it's kind of janky. And the first flashlight you get is like the jankiest version, but the access requirements for certain machines or door locks are tied to the charge level of your flashlight. So if you don't have enough charge on your flashlight, you can't access certain spaces or doors or machines. So you have to make that choice between using the flashlight to one, make yourself feel safe or light your way through like a really dark hallway, or save it and try to work your way through a dark space or possibly a tricky space to save that battery life or something on the other side. So it's that kind of balancing act we want the players to kind of to use as they go through it.
Yeah, that resource management. Perfect. All right. And Joel, for the design of the game, was there anything in particular that inspired you? Not necessarily a game, but anything in the world, any piece of media or art?
Yeah, I look at so much stuff. So I'm one of those weirdos who just has like a Pinterest account. I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but as a designer, yeah, as a designer, it is a very, very valuable tool because I can just start searching for anything, like any kind of architecture. And then I can just start creating boards for that, especially for like inspirational boards. I did look a lot at like I started off in Victorian and Edwardian architecture, and then kind of started looking at more like concept art. So a lot of the stuff will probably feel a little Edwardian slash that kind of transition between Edwardian to Victorian era. There's also with the concept art part, I was just trying to find something that want to make it feel sickly or weird. So I kind of started taking proportions and just slightly making them off. So like sometimes furniture is a weird size, sometimes the walls are really high, or the architecture just kind of doesn't fully make sense, but it still seems like it makes sense within the space. So it just kind of odd in that sense. I guess I don't want to go too much into all the different
Yeah, it's
things that
okay.
I've
It's
I've
okay. We
read
don't have to
into,
dig too
but yeah,
much.
it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff I looked at.
Right, a lot of real world influences in particular.
It's more of a balance. It's like seeing what people have done within like the real world and in the concept world, or games, movies, TV shows, And then just trying to dissect why they did that and what it did to me when I watched it or look at it. So
Right. Why is this scary?
yeah.
I'm curious with the development of the game, what's the hardest thing you guys come across? I ask this to most. I'm always curious to hear the answer of because it's always different. What is the hardest thing you guys tend to come across with the development of the game? Whether it be anything within the coding, advertising, inspiration, story, like what's like the stuff that's the hang up?
Marketing for me.
Marketing?
Yeah.
Understandable.
It's, I think, I don't know, Tim, what do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I would say marketing is, but we really do well at conventions a lot of times. We both love to talk to people, so like even if people come by and they're like, "Well, we don't really like horror games," we're like, "Okay, well, we'll talk to you anyway." Like
Yeah.
we have we have a lot of fun at gaming conventions and we do well there. When it comes to online stuff, I think that's where we
Yeah. Trying to
neither of
keep that
us.
online presence is hard
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like so easy to just get sucked into doing the work and you're like, you forget to come back and be like, oh,
yeah,
I have to post something.
yeah.
So
And I've never done a whole lot of social media, and I don't, Joel, you haven't done a whole lot, right? I mean, you did a little bit of TikTok, but not really
yeah, that's more
anything.
like off the cuff, kind of like spur of the
Yeah,
moment stuff. It's like this weird balance where I so my background is in like marketing and creating like ads and stuff, and motion graphics. And so like whenever I would make something, I would like it's gotta look professional. And so I'd make something that looks really professional. It takes a little more time. And then it would be like, eh. And then I would just throw something together and it would look rough and rushed. And people were like, this is awesome. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, why? This looks so much better. But it's just, I think in social media, they just, when they see something professional, they feel like they're being sold. If it feels like
yeah,
it's thrown together, they're like, yeah, this is, it's more relatable. So
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, a person made this.
yeah,
Mm,
not a team of people. And
exactly.
yeah, even
Like
if it's just me over here plugging away. But
it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's the probably the number one issue we've heard from all developers is the marketing side of things.
hmm
yeah.
But
Yeah, it's like you're always praying for that like that viral moment, but it's
mhm,
yeah,
like you probably shouldn't be praying for the viral moment. You should just be praying to get your product, in the hands of the right players,
exactly.
and then that from there will be the right thing. So
And that player's name is Markiplier. Is
yeah,
he still? I think he's around.
there's we have like a I have a few that I watch and listen to and stuff like that, and I think it would be cool if at any point after the game's out that one of them plays it, and I'd be like, that would be pretty great. Like Gab Smolders would be great. Markiplier would be huge. There's like a bunch of like Poised and IGP and stuff like that, or getting mentioned by like Game Ranks or like Skill Up or something like that. That would be pretty cool. Or freaking No Clip. If they mentioned it, one of their podcasts would be fun. So
It is wild, yeah, just
yeah,
how much impact, well, I guess that's what they call influencers that they have in a game getting their name out there. Well, I guess that's what we're doing here too as well.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
want to get as many people as possible to know about
yeah.
this.
It helps. It helps.
It
All of it
does.
helps.
Yeah,
And we love talking about it. So it's
yeah,
feeding two egos at once. So
yeah. Definitely. We put a lot of work into it, and a lot. We have fun doing it and everything, but it's like every minute of free time we put into it. So when we get a chance to talk about it, we're ready.
That's cool. How long have you guys been developing it?
Since about, I think,
2022, I think.
oh, was it 2022?
Yeah, that's when we actually settled on what we were doing. There for a
Oh,
long
okay.
time, we were just kind of tinkering around.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that was also, I think, the time when it was right after the time we switched over to Unreal because we were in Unity for a while, and the Unreal Engine 5 came out, and we kind of looked at it and we're like, maybe not. We'll just keep using the tools we know. And then we're
Yeah.
like, no, they have a lot of good stuff. So we went over there, and I think after that, it really started. That's when we started getting an idea of
2020, we did definitely say, "Hey, I think we want to make games," but it was like, like Joel was saying, it was a little bit more just
Big Tank.
playing and stuff. But that is the point where we're talking about scary stuff and
The
and
seed was planted back then.
yes, exactly, yeah.
the sprout was 2 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're working on this dang tree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, bear fruit very soon, as far as I know.
Yeah, 2025, right?
that's what we're aiming for, yeah. So the way we looked at our content that we want to polish up and still have to produce, and we're looking at 2025, end of 2025.
All right. And with where they go, what would you say is your goal? How do you want to make the player feel? And what do you want the player to walk away with at the end of the game? Is there any particular message or feeling you want to convey to a potential player or audience?
You want me to take this one, Tim?
So I have some ideas too, but you can go ahead
No,
first.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. I think we both have like goals that we're trying to put
Yeah.
in there, and we're just marrying them together.
So my favorite thing, the first time I saw people play it, so it was in Raleigh. It was our first convention that we did. And every single person that finished playing it after they got off playing it and they took their headphones off, they had a giant smile on their face. And that was the best feeling I had I've ever had. It was so exciting seeing every single, and I still see that. I still see that a lot, but like in the first time seeing it, that was amazing. So there were several people that almost fell out of their chair and they were screaming, and it was a lot of that was fun seeing.
People get so happy when you scare them. It's so
I know.
weird.
I know.
It's
So
so true.
there was all that was going on, but the fact that when they were done, they had this giant smile on their face. I was like, yes, that's exactly what I was going for. I want people to have fun playing it. And we have and Joel might be able to explain this a little bit better. We do have like a message that we're trying to convey in the game, and we have a story and we have things like that. But that to me was my favorite part.
It is really fun. I see that. Yeah, I think so. I don't want to speak too much on the story, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of, so we have moments where it's going to be just pure storytelling. It's going to give the player a small break from the puzzle making, and that's just to kind of give them investment into the character of Mia, in the world. But then a lot of the story is really just going to be within the world. Players can just discover it by, traversing, exploring the spaces around them, and just kind of making their own connections. And some of those connections might lead into other things as well. So, but I think I want them to have maybe not like a heavy contemplation afterwards. I don't want to make we don't want to make our game like burden in any
gotcha.
way. But we want them to maybe take a pause, and think about it for a while, and reflect on the experience when they're done. And then, yeah, I guess I just want to have that strong moment. I'd like to say I'd love them to get right back into it, but I think that's different for different people. But
That's speedrunning community.
yeah, we've thought about this. Like, how do we didn't want to like push too hard for speed running, but like, we're like, yeah, we'll support it. We'll support the community if they like to do that kind of stuff. So, but our goal is still experience first, going from there.
Something that sticks with them, something they'll think about afterward. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And so, yeah, with the release date, I think we just went over that. It's going to be ideally late 2025,
Yeah, we're
right?
trying to hit spooky season.
Yeah.
October.
Right on. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's fitting.
Mid-October. Yeah, see some VTubers screaming, falling out of their chair.
Yeah.
Camera falls on
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
Avatar goes all
Uh,
wonky.
Quick story. There's been a couple times where we have people play at like the conventions, and there's at least three times that we've had someone play it, and they couldn't finish the demo, unfortunately. But I was, we're watching it because we want to see how they're experiencing it, and how they're playing the game. But whenever they put down the controllers, their hands were shaking so bad they couldn't pick up
Wow.
the controllers.
That's
So I was
great.
like,
That's intense.
that's a good sign, like that. And I kind of want to have a little bit of that when people play it, at home. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the more traumatized, the better. Perfect. That's what
Yeah.
I want to hear.
yeah,
Sure.
we're complete sadists and that's
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I gotta wonder, Tim, since you said your son's the one playing it, when he's done, he's like, so, were you scared? I didn't hear any screaming, so what's going on?
Yeah, this is a lot of awesome stuff with him trying some stuff out. So like he tried it out before there was any sound. Also, there were a lot of
oh,
things. So he kind of had an idea of what kinds of things were going to happen and stuff like that. And then Joel added sounds at a certain point, and once that sound was there, he knew where some of the stuff was, but there was also like those additional sounds. He's like, "What is going on here?" And I could definitely see that he was a lot more scared. And then after he got done playing it, when it was pretty close to where the demo was ready, he started having his friends play it, and
Oh,
they were
nice.
they were screaming, and it was But he's loved scary games since he was like 4.
Wow.
Like
That's that's impressive.
he played like Bendy and the Ink Machine. Yeah, I think he was young. He loved it though. He loved that game a lot. And then
I remember you
Poppy's
kept bringing up
Playtime.
Pop. Yeah, let's say
He
you kept bringing
loves
that one up.
he
Yeah.
loves that game. Or he loved it. I think he's probably played it too much by now, but there's another one really. Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's.
I was gonna
He
Wow,
say
loves
that's
that
FNF
it.
one.
That's the number one for
probably
kids.
best. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
adults.
yeah.
Yeah. They can't have all the fun.
Yeah, and the discerning, intellectual, such as ourselves.
He's been talking about playing Phasmophobia. He hasn't started on it, but he's been talking about it with his friends. He's into like Roblox right now. I think once you're there, you don't go back for a while. But
Get stuck in that ecosystem.
They got it
yeah,
all.
yeah, exactly.
I'm always a little jealous. I can't get anyone in my family to play it. They won't do it. Like my daughters are interested in it. And they go, "Oh, what's this? What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. We won't play it." They go, "Absolutely not." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that's fine. I can get my brother-in-law to play it, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one else.
Any screams out of him?
Yeah, well, he started playing it pretty early on, just like play testing, kind of like what Tim's son was doing. But yeah, he had a few good moments that, even after seeing the evolution of those early play tests and stuff like that, yeah, he still had some moments. I remember the first time he sat down and we were getting the demo put together, and we are like, okay, just play through this. I would just sit and I had a little couch behind me. He just sat in my office and played it. He had a few good moments where he was screaming, which is good because like him and I, we play horror games together quite a bit. Indie horror games that are like multiplayer and stuff like that, like Phasmophobia and other ones like it. So it was good.
I haven't played Phasmophobia. I want to.
It's so good. I felt like it was scarier when it first came out though, because there was like so much you didn't know, and again, it kind of leads into that why it was scary kind of thing. And now it's a kind of a known quantity, so it doesn't feel as scary. But that first time you go into a house, it's pretty nerve-wracking. I would say play. You have to go through a tutorial by yourself where you can play multiplayer, but try playing a few houses by yourself, and it's still a little bit scarier. As soon as you add friends in there,
Yeah.
It's
The
always
pros.
right. It always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's laughing. It's like, oh, this is obviously the Wendigo. I use the spirit box. All right, let's get out of here.
yeah.
Yeah. The only
Just
time
speed running it.
multiplayer scary games still kind of grip me is like with well like when there's what do you call it? This not spatial sound, but
The
like
ambient sounds.
the no like Lethal Company where as you're
Oh,
closer to someone you
voice.
could
Oh, proximity. Yeah.
Yeah, proximity chat. Yeah.
proximity chat. Thank you. When that's done right, I
Yeah.
think it still allows for multiplayer to be pretty could still be
It's
scary,
it's pretty
but
funny when you just hear someone say, "Oh, I'm just like, what the?" Just cuts out.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
game has good laughs and good scares. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a fun
Yeah.
one.
I did like so like even in like Phasmophobia, so that we always use the in-game chat for that, because once you're in the house, your audio is dampened until it goes away. Like if you're outside and your friend goes in the house, then it gets quieter and quieter. So it's a little bit of a cutoff. You can kind of hear it, but it's still effective.
Is there anything else any topics that you guys want to touch on the game that we may have glossed over? I'm just curious. Is there anything special that you guys want to share?
I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I got to be careful.
Yeah.
I know, that's why
Yeah.
I don't want to dig
Without revealing
too
the whole
deep.
story
Like
here.
I have a lot of
Exactly.
questions I
Yeah.
could ask,
I
but
know. It's
I
like,
think
so
a
how
lot
does
of
the
them are
game
too
end?
revealing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
ask about the story. I want to ask about the world.
Tell me the beginning, middle, and end, and
Yeah.
don't leave out any details. It's great. Yeah. Well, I would say like play the demo. It's a good little slice. It gives you kind of the starting point for like how the puzzles are going to start being assembled, and it's going to get escalated from there. The space you play in is fairly small within the demo because it's built to demo well at conventions, right?
Okay,
So
that's
people don't
smart.
have a lot of time, but it's that world is gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, which is a very exciting part for us. So we'd recommend that if you like it, which you will, of course you'll like it when you play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow us on our socials. Our Discord is really good. We talk a lot with our
Okay.
community there.
All below in the description.
We'll shout it out at the very end. We'll shout all your stuff out for where to go and whatnot. I just wanted to check in because I did want to ask. We usually wrap with just like a couple random questions. I wanted to I know you guys mentioned all your free time right now is pretty much in the game, and but I do want to say like with Game of the Year awards and everything coming up, is anything you guys have played this year where you're like, yeah, that's my game of the year, or any media or anything?
I'd be interested to see if Balatro takes the win.
I
I
know it.
know, me too.
I,
I'm gonna
that's
vote for it. I love that game.
that's what he was hoping for.
It's interesting one because of where it came from and the guy and his responsible take on the game and how he's like trying to like kind of protect gamers with it by patenting the game mechanics so it can't ever be used in gambling because he saw how addictive it is. But then also, it's whenever like a small indie game like that gets that kind of a big nomination, obviously the bigger companies take notice of that, and there's been a lot of fluctuation going around in the game development community. And I think that would be people wouldn't be able to ignore that. Big companies won't be able to ignore that, and they'll have to take considerations after that.
You think it's
So
beneficial for the space in general?
I think it's a signal to an adjustment. I don't think it's going to be a huge shift, but I think companies will probably see that there's a lot of value in pushing back more towards indie and double A development because I think the double A space has been kind of a drought for a long time, and I think you know only hedging your bets on triple A for so long for like not being able to get that many games out in so many years is dangerous, and taking advantage or not taking advantage, but investing in smaller developers and smaller teams that are agile can really push a medium forward.
Well, and let's be real,
So
trying something new,
Yeah.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, not just going safe,
Yeah.
same
That's
formula.
yes. That's my biggest thing I like playing something I've never played before.
AAA space has been so safe.
Hmm.
And while there's still great games made, I mean, many company AAA games that were, or even franchises that were once, phenomenal or tried new things are just over and over now.
And it's kind of hard not to do that because they invest so much money. They have to ensure it being a hit. So they have to go with a known formula. So it's like, that's where I'm like, you know what? You could do a lot more cool stuff if you just did double A, have that double A space come back. Or, invest in more indies. I think with the amount we have, we're going to have a. Can you hear my dogs fighting in the hallway?
No,
No.
Okay. I'm
no,
like going
not
ham
at
outside the door.
all. No.
But no, I think they should be able to see that the medium can be more exciting if you kind of diversify your portfolio a little bit more instead of just doing the one thing. And when that one thing doesn't work, you all of a sudden get scared and you cancel all these other things that are like it. So it's scary.
I'm glad we're all in agreement. We should completely just dumpster AAA, all indie from here on out.
I'm not saying that. I like some
No,
of those
yeah,
games, but I mean, maybe less of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
less of a
Spread out the investment.
for sure. Yeah, we don't need an Assassin's Creed every year.
Yeah.
We don't need a Call of Duty every
We
year.
don't need a Call of Duty every year. I no, and I
Less
still
of the subscription stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
The battle
I'm
pass.
dig.
Yeah, the
I'd
battle.
be
Oh my
interested.
gosh. Yeah.
Tim and I talk about this a lot. It's like, so what's hurting the gaming community and what's benefiting the gaming community? And there's always this question because it's always the elephant in the room of like live service games, and it's like everyone likes those games, but if you've ever been with a live service game for a long time, after a while, logging in feels like logging into a job, and you're
Yeah.
just yeah, it's like a chore. It's like I just got to get the stuff that's out here now because
Oh yeah.
otherwise I'm gonna have FOMO.
It's
And
I I have a friend who's addicted to Genshin. I mean, like
yeah,
addicted. Like they'll be at a party, like, oh, forgot to do my daily tasks. Sit on the couch, do that for like an hour. Like, okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's like it truly sinks its hooks into you. It's nefarious the way it works.
yeah, it's like an alcoholic. They don't have a drinking problem; they have a drinking
Yeah.
opportunity. So
Right,
yeah.
right.
But yeah, I think the market is starting to feel the weight of too many live services, and I think it's going to re equalize at some point where because everyone who's not buying all the other amazing games that are coming out, like Alan Wake 2, from what I can tell, and what I've heard, has only just recently recouped its production cost.
Wow,
So
really?
it's not even a really good profitable venture yet. So if they have enough investors that made it possible, right? But the fact that Alan Wake 2 is barely recovering its production cost and Fortnite's $1 billion, um, I think you can see that people aren't navigating away enough from a live service game to test out other experiences. And so I'm hoping people are going to start realizing that and it's going to re-equalize. So that's a hope.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, same. No, I'm with you all
Total
the way.
upheaval. Yes, I agree.
yeah,
Okay, Dick. All right, calm down,
you're just go to the extreme
Mr.
every time.
Anarchist. He does. It's his thing. And Sam,
It's
our
like burn
third,
the
isn't
triple
here
A's.
to. Sam's not here to help. So Sam is kind of our third. He's like our resident like
Smart
Ubisoft
guy.
enjoyer.
Oh
So,
yeah, that's
and
it.
I mean, I play a couple Ubisoft games, but I play like they're not known one like Trackmania, and like I do play some AAA games still. I play a lot of Final Fantasies and things of those natures, but like I don't. Sam will play like the Star Wars Outlaws that just came out, and I'm just like, dude, no, you couldn't make.
Oh yeah,
Sorry, it's just so
It's supposed to
formulaic.
start getting better. They're fixing it. So
yeah.
I
I
mean,
heard.
sure, it's still the same formula. Like, and you cannot call it a stealth game. Like, I love stealth, and that they tried to market it. And I'm like, dude, Ubisoft made, in my opinion, some of the best stealth games ever. With like Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, like all those were just phenomenal.
there's been a lot of interest in Splinter Cell and SOCOM
I
recently.
hope I've been seeing it too.
Now that should have a resurgence.
I hope so.
Yeah, Metal Gear's not around anymore.
I know. I hope Splinter Cell gets a little bit of a, even if you don't use Sam Fisher, like if you could use, I just miss stealth games. We just don't have that really that much anymore. Like and they're fun. I don't know.
They are fun.
Stealth's kind
Yeah.
of yeah. Yeah, stealth's kind of gone the way of the horror game, which is fine with us.
Exactly. I was
So
thinking that, which is actually, yeah, no, I was thinking it's like the only time you get real stealth anymore with like consequences, where it's not just hiding this bush.
It's you can tell the people that have never played stealth games before too with our game because that is funny you bring that up because we will see people play it that don't understand that you have to be quiet and
Right.
and
Move slow.
oh once they get that they're like okay but yeah if you're a stealth gamer you just automatically
You
know that
know,
you're supposed to do it.
there's a vision aspect, there's an
Yeah,
audio aspect. Like it's
yeah,
yeah.
not just, yeah, it's not just standing.
we
That's
uh
funny.
we did an expo, and we this expo had like a bunch of gaming tournaments going on at the same time, and like most of them do actually. But we had some. They were like we call them Twitch players, whatever, like that. Guys play like shooter games like really
Yeah, yeah,
fast and stuff
sure.
like
Yeah.
that. So they came over and they started playing the game, and they just kept dying,
Yeah.
dying, dying.
Really?
And we're like, it's not a fast game in that sense.
Right.
Maybe you should slow down and look around and play a little more stealthy. And then they started doing better.
Yeah.
It was just funny. We just saw them. Just the body count went up so fast, and they played it.
Trying to
So
wave dash around the witch.
Yeah.
yeah, basically they're like they get the scare and they're like, I got this. I can just kite her. I'm like, actually, you can't. She's faster than you. So, but it
Teach
was
some
it was interesting.
patience. That's
Yeah,
funny.
we do kind of we try to push the players to engage with the systems of the game. So in that sense is like, yeah, they were fighting against using all the systems of the game, and so it was kind of punishing for them in that sense. But
As horror games should. As horror games should punish you for trying to like fight against the system. I mean, because that's the whole point. You can't just blitz it. It's a horror
Yeah.
game. It wouldn't be scary if you could just blitz it in some ways, I think.
Yeah.
there's always the nuance moments. But like, yeah, for the
Sure.
most part, we're trying to reinforce it.
Tim, did you have a game of the year or
Man, I don't think I've played any games. I downloaded a game that I was gonna play and I haven't played it.
Question. Actually, I'm sorry. Tim, go ahead and finish the thought. I just had a thought and I wanted to bring it up with a book note. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh no, I was trying to think. I was just trying to think of the game I downloaded that.
Balatro.
Yeah, I just no. I
I don't
wish.
think Tim's into card games.
I wasn't either.
yeah, Dick
That-
knows I bought it for
That good, huh?
It's
so
it's
good.
sickening.
It's
It'll ruin your
crack.
life.
It's like crack.
Oh,
It's
not
open
crazy.
it.
I've got hundreds
It's
of
on
hundreds of
it's on
hours.
everything too.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen,
okay.
That's the most dangerous thing about it.
It's so. Anyway, sorry. Did you think of the game? I know.
No.
Okay. All
You
good.
go ahead, Joel. I'll
Yeah,
try to
shoot.
look.
Well, I just wanted to ask a question. So, like, we're in year 2 of a DLC being nominated for Game of the Year.
That's
Yeah,
right.
good question.
So, Cyberpunk 2077, disastrous launch.
Right.
But then Fixed Itself came out with their DLC and got a nomination for Game of the Year. So,
Right.
actually, did they win? I can't remember. Did they win?
No, unless they might have won a
Elden Ring
certain
won.
Elden Ring won last year.
Yeah. And then this year, Elden Ring has its own DLC.
Right.
Well, Elden Ring
Right.
won 2 years ago.
Elden Ring 1, yeah, 2022.
Oh, 2 years ago, you're right. I don't
Yeah.
what did win last year.
Okay. But
I
either way,
don't remember.
DL,
Or no, it won 2 years ago. I don't remember what won last year. Sorry.
was it Baldur's Gate last
You're
year?
right. That's
I think it
of
was
course,
Baldur's Gate.
It was definitely
Okay.
Baldur's Gate
100%
swept last
earned.
year. Got like
Yeah.
19 of the 30 awards.
It is like the Lord of the Rings of our time. So, but then now Elden Ring put out their DLC and it's been nominated for Game of the Year. And it's like, why can't we have a category for best DLC and then best game? It's like, I don't.
Couldn't agree more.
that.
Couldn't agree more. I think, in fact, to your point, actually, I think I remember it being controversial that I don't know if Edge Runners got the DLC for Cyberpunk was eligible to get nominated
Phantom
for Game of the
Liberty?
Year.
Yeah.
Or that's what it was. Sorry, I was
No,
Edge
well, at
Runners
the
is
Game
the
Awards.
right.
That's-
I thought
that's
it was
why
just
they-
Game
the
Awards kept it.
and then they
But
just
like other ones.
yeah. Oh, so it was okay. I couldn't remember if I thought for they may have changed that for this DLC.
So a lot of people blame Jeff Keighley for that, but I think what I've heard, Jeff Keighley doesn't make this. So
Sure, I'm sure
it's
it's
all
not.
the other industry people who bring it up. And I think their mindset is this is such a great experience, everyone should know about it, so they bring in that nomination. But I think that it takes the spotlight away from it takes the spotlight and puts it back on an already successful game and takes it away from games that could also benefit from it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens because Elden Ring. I've played a lot of Elden Ring. I have not played the DLC because I don't have that kind of time.
Same actually.
I mean, it's supposed to be absolutely. It's almost like a sequel, but again, it's a DLC. You have to own the game first to get it. So
I agree, and you can't even just go straight into the. From my understanding, like I own the
No, you
DLC, I haven't
can't.
played it yet because you have to. It's extremely difficult already.
Yes, you have to beat a
After
Moog.
you've beaten the game, it's extremely
Yeah.
difficult going into it, from my understanding. So like you have to pretty much beat the game to get into that content. It's basically just it's almost as true of DLC as DLC could be because a lot of times DLC now can be like I mean I didn't play Final Fantasy 7 yet, Rebirth or Remake, but from my understanding, you could actually
Clear
just
your
jump straight
calendar.
into the DLC. Came out with that, and so a lot of games that do that now, or just do like a full side story or prequel story or something, right? And I know like the Xenoblades did that, but those are I agree. I think there should be a separate category personally. Why not? I mean, there are great DLCs. There's incredible DLCs.
well, the two we've mentioned are amazing.
Right.
I mean, we don't want to detract from them. They're great, but it's feeding the fat beast kind of thing, right? So it's you need to spread that around. So
I love that both Balatro and Astrobot got nominated because Astrobot was unexpected. I just got a PlayStation 5 Pro just because I've never had a PlayStation 5
That's right. Just to play
before.
Astrobot.
Yeah, just to play
I'm
Astrobot.
sh I'm
I was
sure
so
Astrobot plays amazing on the Pro.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I was so stubborn about getting a PS5 because I wasn't willing to pay scalpers for years. And then by the time like they actually became available, I was like, well, I've waited 4 years. I might as well, or 3 years. The Pro's probably gonna come out. So I just waited. And then I was like, oh my God, that's so fucking. I waited this long. I'm gonna get it. And I haven't even really played any. I haven't played like Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter just because I haven't had a chance to play those games in so
Yeah,
long.
that would be a good game on it.
But the Astrobot I did play, and it's a fantastic game. It's
I
phenomenal.
have not played any of the Astrobot games. I know I'm missing out, so at some point I'm gonna have to. But I also did not buy a PS5 yet, so I'm living in a little bit of a drought in those experiences. I have to wait for all the PlayStation games to come to PC
Yeah.
for me
That's
to.
what I was
It's
doing for
happening.
years. It is.
It's gonna
It
happen,
is. It
yeah.
already is happening.
But then I can't take advantage of Sony's new pisser technologies, so that's a its own little
The
thing.
pissing technology?
The pisser technology, their PlayStation upscaling technology, the PSSR.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Digital Foundry calls it pisser.
That's
Okay.
funny. I One of the main reasons I got it is so I could have a Blu-ray player because I don't have anything to play Blu-ray like discs on
Oh man.
anymore.
I still have my
So
PS3.
I know I mine's somewhere in the garage, but I was like, you know. Anyways, sorry, rambling. But yeah, that game, it's cool to see a platformer like that get nominated as well, just because the last time we saw it, just a standard platformer get
And
nominated.
Mario.
it's one of the few games that actually has good physics in it, like good physics sims, which is not that common anymore.
Two last questions. Are there any plans for any post-launch support in terms of DLC updates, any sort of additions to where they go, or are you going straight to the next game after the release?
Damn, you can take that one.
I know it's kind of far away, but
That's a tough one. We love working in the game we're working in right now. And it'd kind of be what our community is most interested in is probably kind of where we'd go. But we've been tossing around a lot of cool ideas on the next game, and already Joel was talking about how he goes on Pinterest and he finds these things and then he does it, and then this amazing world comes out of it. He's shown me a lot of concept stuff that he would like to do. And I'm like really picky about things, style and stuff. I don't know why, but I like a certain thing. And if it's not that certain thing, I'm just not really all that interested in it. And this style is just somehow so perfect. And it's not anything like where they go.
Yeah, it'll be different.
It's definitely its own thing, but it still has a very unique style to it.
It would possibly be sci-fi is what we're looking at. So
Okay.
Yeah. I
yeah,
love sci-fi
without giving
too,
out too
so
much.
yeah.
sure.
I love sci-fi
But
and I love scary stuff, so it'll probably still have a lot of scary stuff in it, and
Perfect.
sci-fi is awesome, so
yeah, but we're already planning. We have to kind of support where they go for a while and what that support looks like. We have been asked quite a bit about multiplayer. I mean, even people who might be listening to this might be asking that question because a lot of horror games coming out right now have multiplayer. We probably won't be implementing multiplayer unless we can do a good, meaningful implementation that works within the game mechanics we have. So that's been our holdup with that because we're focusing on giving a strong first single player experience right now, and then we'll see what we can do after that. But and then we've also talked about doing DLC, but I think we'll just have to wait and see with that. We're going to support the get all the bug fixes and maybe any quality of life improvements that the community might bump into post launch.
Right. So it's up to you. It's up to the community members. You decide
Yes.
where it goes from here. Ball's in your court. Do you guys have any words of wisdom for a prospective game developer, someone who wants to get into the world of game development?
I got asked this question a few times in Ohio, and one of them was because there was a lot of people there that were game devs or are wanting to be game devs, and so the biggest thing is like make sure you're doing something you love first. So like you have to really love it, and then you're naturally gonna do it because you love it, you know? Like we both do it because it's like we love waking up in the morning, or well, maybe not. I love waking up in the morning and thinking about, oh man, I can start programming this, I can start programming this, and then I do that as much as I can, try to cram as much as I can in, then I think about that while I'm at work, and then later on I go home and I do a little bit more sometimes. So it's like it just kind of naturally happens, and then so make sure you love it, and then find a good partner also that you can work with and collaborate on ideas and challenge each other, like push each other to do something bigger. I think that's probably the best advice I can give.
Yeah, chase your passion. Perfect. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, that's what you should do, right? If you're
yeah,
getting into game development, because like, oh, I want to make a quick buck, get the hell out of
right.
here, man.
Make it
Yeah,
a hobby,
exactly.
not a
Take your
Yeah.
You're
Balatro clone out of here.
you're not
You're
gonna
gonna
finish
you're
it.
gonna you're gonna get beat down pretty hard
Yeah.
during that process. It's a funny story. We were at a con and I'm like working with these two people run like playing through the demo, and I wasn't paying attention to Tim. I thought Tim was just talking to somebody, and I'm like helping this person, checking on this person, making sure that they're all set up and everything's good. And I'm just kind of watching them play, and I just kind of peek over my shoulder, looking around, and I turn around. There's Tim. There's like probably like 20 video game students like circling
Oh, no
around him,
way.
and he's just giving a TED talk. And I was like, what the heck? So it was so bizarre. I was like, get over here, sell this game.
That's awesome, dude.
But yeah, I would
Charismatic.
say uh, from so as an artist, this is going to sound a little weird, but I think the root thing I would push everyone towards is like it's not always about the art; it's about balancing your world and your mechanics properly. So your game doesn't have to look amazing, and it can look a little bit rougher, but if you understand your product well enough, those two should the art should will meet the mechanics in the middle pretty well. But then also um, understanding why you're doing something. So I think when we first started kind of, dipping our toes into game design and trying to, develop something a little bit more complex, we were looking at a lot of other games and just like, oh, well, they did that. We should just do that. And then we stopped and we had to like go, well, why'd they do that? And I've already said this a few times, but taking that moment to ask why someone implemented something and what it did. So like in Fallout, the Pip Boy, is that what it's called? I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little wrist computer.
Yeah, the Pip Boy solved a solution of like one, it keeps you immersed in the world and you have your entire menu on your wrist, but it doesn't overlay your screen much, right? So that kept the immersion going. So that's a nice thing. That's why they did that. Same with like Dead Space. All of your HUD is on your
On the
character,
back, right.
right? On
Yeah,
his
you can
back or on his
see,
gun
or
and
yeah,
stuff
the
like
wrist.
that.
You're right. Yeah.
So it's what's it do? It keeps you immersed in the world. Makes you not have to look in the corners of the
That's
screen.
so
So
interesting.
if you're approaching your game design in that sense where it's like I want to do something, but and you're like I like the way this one game did it, well, why they do it? And then extrapolate from there. I think everyone who does that would probably make much better decisions in their game design.
Right on. That's very, very sound advice. Those are all new things. That's pretty
Yeah, do what you love and make sure you know what you're doing.
Or figure out why you love it.
Yeah,
right. Make it a hobby, passion, not a pro or not a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right on.
beautiful. So everyone can wishlist a game on the Epic Store. I believe is the only storefront it's available on right now for the demo. Yes?
At the moment, yes.
At the
Yes. So
Yeah,
yes.
we will be adding other stores soon.
Yeah, it will be
Right
soon.
on.
All right.
Right on.
So yes, for now on the Epic Store. And outside of that, where can any viewers or listeners find you guys?
So we're on Facebook, X, and just joined Blue Sky. We only have 2 followers on there right now, but
You could be the third. There you
yeah,
go.
be the
Yeah,
third.
there you go.
Get in early. And Instagram, and then Threads. Discord's where we talk the most. Discord's the one I usually recommend to everybody if you're a creative person and you have ideas and you played through the game and you're like, I loved this game. I would like them to do something. I would love it if they did something like this or something like that. If you jump on our Discord and you tell us that, we're going to have a conversation about it. We might talk about it for a week, 2 weeks, we're gonna talk about it and decide if it's something that we can not necessarily we're gonna do it, but we're definitely going to talk about it and find out. And maybe we might come up with another idea off of that or something like that. But my favorite thing is when people come on and they're like, hey, have you thought about doing something along the lines of this or something like that? Or we'll also ask stuff on there as well. So their people's opinions and stuff. So if you want to get involved, Discord is definitely the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the community.
Top place for
Yeah.
interaction.
We'll poll the community every once in a while. If we feel like we're doing something and we're not sure if this is what the community wants or would like, because we want to be very community focused, then we'll just ask them. It's like we don't want to guess it.
Yeah.
So we'll just ask.
All right. And as I said before, all those links are going to be available right below in the description. So click on all of them, click on the plus icon, the follow icon, whatever makes their number go up, you click that. Got it? Great. And as always, you can find us on this page you're on currently. All of our links will be below there. We've been over them so many times. Join the Discord. Call us on our cell phone. Leave a really nice message.
Yeah, I
nice
love that.
messages.
Please.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, all that stuff. Oh,
We've never said that. Yeah.
yeah. The first like and
know.
subscribe.
Watch your likes go through the roof.
I know.
Oh man.
It plays a little animation.
But they keep
Once
doing
you
it?
A little animation. Like when you hit like, this little animation plays. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I love
you
it.
get $1 million gets deposited in your bank account when you click like. Every
Chance
time
Yeah.
your kids do it too. Yeah.
You get entered into a special lottery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't win. I guess so many people click like. I mean, what do you expect? All right.
Control
Well,
all of it. So
yeah. Thanks for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been
Definitely.
great.
appreciate you having us.
Thanks
on.
for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully maybe, closer to the game's release, we'll chat again.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
return.
that'd be awesome.
I'll
Yeah, we'd
definitely have
love
played
to.
the demo by
Right.
then.
Yeah, we'll be way older and aged, really gnarly looking by that time.
Yeah.
Gray, yeah. Like presidential aging, just completely grayed out.
Yeah.
Obama at the end of his term.
Yep.
Exactly. If I can look as good as Obama by the end of this, I'd be.
I know.
alright.
That would be something.
All right.
It's quite a bit older than me and looks better.
All right. Well, we've been Video Dish. Thank you very much for your guys' time. And as we always say, keep gaming in the free world, everyone.
Yeah, that's what we always
That's
say.
what we
isn't
always
it?
say.